Hey everybody, I'm Hugh Brownstone for Planet 5D, and this is going to be a very short review for a lens that you can argue deserves much more. I'm talking about the Zeiss Milvus 100mm f2 macro lens in EF mount. Now this is, again, the new Milvus line, and it is for Canon cameras, but I mounted it to a Sony a7R II with a ComLight adapter. So first question, Hugh, what are you doing? Why mount a Canon mount lens on Sony body? Fair question. The hard reality is that Canon bodies don't do it for me these days. No flame war, your mileage may vary, that's fine, and Canon may come out with something in the future which really knocks my socks off. But as someone who was in the Canon fold for decades, I made the choice to cut over to Sony. I'm happy, beginning and end of it. Okay, Hugh, but then why not use a native Sony E-mount like Zeiss's own Batis 85mm 1.8 or Sony's 90mm f2.8 macro? And it's a good question too. The fact is both of those lenses are fantastic, and I may end up getting one of them. But I wanted to have the experience of a Zeiss manual focus lens, and I have to say, this thing is awesome. Which is why it's going to be a relatively short review, because this lens is awesome. So what does that mean? It means edge-to-edge sharpness, and that matters to me. I know there are plenty of people who say, hey, you're shooting wide open, everything except what's really important is going to be out of focus anyway. Yeah, well, except I sometimes put my subject on one side of the frame or the other, and I want that sharpness. Oh, but it's so sharp, it's not flattering, and you have the same argument with 4K. I get it. But the fact of the matter is, a really sharp lens, even in 1080p, will do the same thing. You remember the first year they televised the Oscars in HD? Whoa. The fact of the matter is, though, that you can always tone down sharpness in post. I've never had the experience of increasing sharpness in post and really liking the result. So that edge-to-edge sharpness is important to me. The color, beautiful. Now, it's beautiful on a Sony a7R II sensor with nothing in post. Is that because the Sony sensors have gotten better? Is it because Zeiss glass is just magnificent with color rendition? I don't know. But you know what I also think? I also think that if you don't like the color, oh, Canon's color science is that much better, you change it in post. For me, probably more limitation of myself than anything else. I just love it as it comes out of this combo. No changes necessary. The bokeh is extraordinary. God, I love it. And I really have to say that taken all together, this image quality is magical. With one exception, I was surprised to find some lateral chromatic aberration. And I didn't have to pixel peep to see it. I could see it on my screen. This shot of the Empire State Building shows you exactly what I'm talking about. The flip side, of course, is that that's easy to fix in post with Lightroom. It's a click or two and a move of one or two sliders. You're done. But here's another downside of the lens. And to be fair, I don't know if it's the lens, the ComLight adapter, Sony reading it, the Sony body reading it. So let's just say this particular combination yields a weird artifact, which is that the EXIF data on the lens is wrong. The Lightroom application read this as a Tamron 50mm, sometimes a 0mm. It was actually inconsistent, which was very interesting. Small beans in the context of what I'm looking at, but something to be pointed out. What are the other downsides of the Zeiss Milvus f2? Well, it is expensive. It's cheap compared to a Zeiss compact, but it's very expensive compared to its own Batis 85mm and the Sony 90mm 2.8. But another thing that's very interesting is that you really can't use this for anything but still photography. Unless, of course, all of your racking focus or focus pulls are done like this. And in fact, the a7R II is phenomenal for that with its focus assists like peaking and magnification. But because that focus barrel moves, You can't just put a gear ring on and then use a follow focus with it. It just won't work. Okay, so what have we got? We've got something which provides phenomenal image quality when you're in complete manual mode. It's heavy, it's expensive, but it is phenomenal to use, phenomenal in capturing images, and I love it. If you are a still photographer and have something like the Canon 5DS twins, one or the other, and you do portrait work, this is pretty much a no-brainer. It will bring everything to that sensor that one can. Just fantastic. It is fair to say, though, that you get tremendous image quality, although not that manual focus experience, with either the Batis 85 1.8 or the Sony 90mm f2.8 macro. With that being said, what both macro lenses give you is the ability to fill the frame with a person, and that's important to me in portraiture. It's another reason why 135 is actually my favorite focal length lens. Well, there you have it in a nutshell. Truly a phenomenal lens, not perfect for everyone, and the irony is that the highest expression of what this lens can do is probably on the Sony a7R II, because you can take it out into the field. This particular combination was phenomenal, not only because of the image quality and not because of only the ease of focusing, even in low light, but because wide open with the low light sensitivity of the Sony sensor. I didn't bring a tripod, I didn't bring a monopod, and I was shooting from golden hour into dusk with, for me, phenomenal output. Anyway, your mileage may vary. It's all good. Hugh Brownstone for Planet 5D. See you next time. Oh yeah, if you really like this, please remember to subscribe.